Overdrive. Today we drive Mercedes-Benz India's first AMG launched this year. Find out what makes the Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650 so desirable and find out what's new in the refreshed MG Gloster. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I am Soini Dutt. Mercedes-Benz India plans to launch 10 new products in the luxury space in India this year, and that promise has started with the launch of the AMG E53 Cabriolet, which has been priced at 1.30 crore rupees pan-India. Now, Rohit got a chance to drive this top-down beauty around the hills in Pune. Let's take a look.
This is the Mercedes-Benz E53 AMG Cabriolet. It belongs to a rare breed of four-seater convertibles. Of course, it's not based on the same long wheelbase as the E-Class that is sold to us, but in terms of the comfort, I'm not really complaining. There is enough space, the contouring of the seats is not too bad either, so it's not too bad here in the second row. Also, this car has come at a rather good time. There's a nip in the air, there's enough sunlight to make this a pleasant weather to drive in. The kind of drive we would love to have the roof down. Oh, and this car, it takes an awfully long time to retract that roof. Almost 20 seconds, which is the only slow mechanical bit on the E53 Cabriolet. And you can option this roof in 4 colors and the body in 5. Oh, and it loves the winding roads. The short wheelbase ensures that it feels sharp and agile through the bends and not one bit like an E-Class. While the quick yet linear power delivery in this 53 tune ensures that it doesn't feel as overwhelming or muscle car-like like the E63 AMG. This car is not only about its rare four-seater convertible body style, it's also not so much about the way it sounds. Even the engine is quite potent. Sure, it doesn't create headlines the way a hand-built AMG V8 would, but this N-Line 6, it's quick, it's fast, it's mated to a quick gearbox, and even the handling package is surprisingly good. It does justice to that AMG badge that you have peppered all across the car. It's certainly not as sharp as the A45 AMG, but doesn't feel like a four-seater when you start attacking the bends. Sure, it's not a hardcore track tool, but if you do decide to take it to the racetrack, you also get this Track Pace app, which is a part of this big 12.3-inch infotainment screen. You'll be able to get all your racetrack derived data right here. You have the telemetry, you have your lap timer. Not just that, it will also show you after a few laps what is the line that you took around the racetrack. It will also show you what is the ideal line around the racetrack so that you can even compare how good a driver you have been with this car. Of course, there are adjustable dampers too, and the comfort mode just makes it a bit too soft, almost like a Mercedes-Benz luxury sedan more than a coupe or a convertible. Certainly not an AMG. That's how soft it can go, which is a good thing, because when you need it on bad roads, it gives you a nice supple suspension setup. But the Sport Plus mode, that stiffens up things. Of course, it's still not as sharp as something like an AMG GT. There you're talking about a completely different breed of car or a different breed of sports cars from AMG. But it stiffens it up to a level where the car doesn't feel squishy, it doesn't feel vague, everything feels precise from the steering to the suspension. The car just works as intended. It will point in the direction where you want to go and it will power out of corners with that potent engine. So the beauty of this engine is also the EQ boost function that it comes with between gear shifts or when you need that low-end performance, especially around inclines like these with have a lot of hairpins, etc. There's that EQ boost function which comes into play. On paper, it gives you about 22 PS of boost, but more importantly, it acts like a torque fill. So between gears to ensure that the performance is linear, the power delivery is linear, there are no breaks in between. So irrespective of the pace at which you are driving, it always ensures that there is some edge of the seat entertainment. And then there is, of course, a suite of electronics, safety net that ensures that things never go out of hand. And with the wind curtains up, what fills into the cabin is a swooshing sound that is quite unique and likable. Pretty cool, I would say, and also ensures that if you're driving on a cold day, things still remain warm and cozy inside the cabin. Perfect for the cold mountains. And for that kind of cold weather or the mountain roads, you also get the 4MATIC all-wheel drive system, which ensures that there's plenty of grip all the time. But because this all-wheel drive is tuned by AMG, it's also fun-oriented when you engage the Sport or the Sport Plus modes. Mercedes-Benz isn't offering the race pack with this, so you will not get the drift mode. Bird's gonna be unhappy. But even without it, this is a very quick car. Get it right and you will sprint from 0 to 100 in a little over 4 seconds, and will carry on accelerating, putting power down to the road until it reaches a top speed of 250 kilometers an hour. Honestly, I don't really care about the top speed. What I do like is that I can enjoy a drive like this with the top down, maybe with 3 people in the car, like-minded ones of course. Enjoy this kind of handling, enjoy this engine, enjoy that mid-range punch, enjoy the way it exits corners. Do this for a few hours and then pull over, grab a cup of coffee and just smile at each other for the lovely drive that it was. That's the kind of car this is. More than just regular open-top motoring. Time to pull over and get that coffee.
Considering Mercedes-Benz India has recorded their highest ever sales numbers in the country in 2022 and have attributed 22% of those sales numbers coming in from their top-end models, it stands testament to the fact that the luxury car market in India has been seeing a resurgence. We'll take a very quick break here on the show, but coming up on the...
Now, just like before I go on, I should inform you that there are 2 variations of the Super Meteor 650 that you can choose from. The Super Meteor 650 Standard and the Super Meteor 650 Tourer. Now, the model you see here, which we are testing out this time around, is the latter. And this model comes kitted with a touring windscreen, a longer, broader touring seat with a pillion backrest, and it also sports one of 2 distinctive two-tone colorways. Alright, so swinging a leg over the Meteor 650, well, not too much of hassle. 740mm of seat height, not too bad to get a leg over. And as you can see, once you're in the saddle, a very nice, comfortable, laid-back position that the bike will make you assume, with the forward set foot pegs and the slightly tilted back handlebars. Very cruiser-like, very easy-going. And yes, the seat as well. This one is the top-end Celestial variant of the Meteor 650, which comes with a single-piece seat. The other lower variants, the Astral and the Interstellar, come with step seat. This unit in particular, single piece, and it has a longer section for your pillion rider. So your pillion will be a lot more comfortable with this seat. Now, at the heart of the Super Meteor 650 is that same highly refined 648cc parallel twin motor that we've seen previously in the Interceptor 650 and the GT 650 models. And although this motor produces the same amount of power and torque, which is around 47 PS of peak power and a little over 52 Nm of peak torque, well, this motor is tuned to produce a lot more torque, lower down the power band, just like a cruiser should. The Super Meteor 650 feels very torquey from the get-go, and the engine feels a lot more tractable in this current setup. With the older RE650 twins, well, the level of refinement of the parallel twin motor was a real highlight. And much to my delight, the Super Meteor 650 hasn't compromised this level of refinement. The best part about the Super Meteor 650's state of tune is that now you can short shift at lower speeds and cruise along perfectly fine without the engine knocking in protest like it did on the older RE650 twins. There's plenty of grunt all across the band, and if you really want to get going at pace, well, this bike feels more than up for it. Although it might not be as quick as, say, the GT or the Interceptor 650 models, well, the Super Meteor 650 doesn't feel anywhere close to being sluggish. Besides being a lot heavier than the Interceptor 650, the Super Meteor's wheelbase is 100mm longer, and with 135mm of ground clearance, it does sit 39mm lower to the ground in comparison. So it isn't as eager to change direction. But that doesn't mean that you'll find it difficult to alter your course when you astride this bike. It's a cruiser motorcycle after all, and it all falls in sync very well, feeling every bit the part. The front end provides a good amount of feedback with the chunky upside down fork and its 120mm of travel, absorbing bumps very nicely. While the twin shocks at the rear are set up stiff, just as you would expect on a thoroughbred cruiser bike. The bike takes to long sweeping corners like a fat kid to cape. Tipping the Super Meteor 650 into long winding roads towards the dunes of Sam was an absolute delight. The bike held its line very nicely provided that the road was smooth. Battling down open stretches of highway at triple-digit speeds are definitely in this bike's forte. Cruising at 100 to 120 kmph appears to come just so naturally to this bike, it feels like a casual walk in the park. And what's more is that you'll have more than enough juice to get past traffic moving at that speed very easily. And the icing on this Royal Enfield Space Cake has to be its pricing. Now this pretty much blows away any competition that it will come against into the weeds. The standard Super Meteor model can be had for 3.49 lakh to 3.64 lakh ex-showroom India, depending on what colorway you choose, while the touring model, well, that can be had for around rupees 3.79 lakh ex-showroom India.
Well, the Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650 does rival its sibling, the Interceptor 650, and also the Benelli 520C. But given the Benelli is a bit more expensive in comparison, it would make sense to go for the Super Meteor 650. We'll take a very quick break here on the show, but coming up on the other side, we'll tell you all about the facelifted MG Gloster. Stay tuned, you're watching Overdrive. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. MG Motor India has recently given the Gloster a facelift. Not only that, it also comes with a two-wheel drive variant which also gets ADAS functionality. Tuhin will get you all the details.
Now the MG Gloster remains the only real direct ladder frame 4x4 rival to the Toyota Fortuner, and it undercuts this main rival quite significantly. And now to strengthen its case even further, MG has given the Gloster a minor update. So today in this video, we'll tell you what all has actually changed with this. Now on the outside, these changes are limited to this new deep golden shade of paint, which has quite a nice brownish bronze hue to it. And then you also have a new design for the 19-inch alloy wheels. They're quite a crisp two-tone look, so it goes very well with the original design of the Gloster. So you have an SUV with a slightly old school, anonymous look, but its sheer mass and adornments do give it the road presence someone shopping for it might want. Now for what's changed on the inside of the new Gloster, most of them are centered around this 12.3-inch touchscreen. The screen itself remains the same, although you do get a new interface. It's shared with what you find in the MG Astra, and it's much more intuitive than what the Gloster got before. So the menus there are a bit more legible, they're easier to navigate, a bit more sensible, and you also get more functions. For example, the Map My India navigation will also show you the weather as well as the AQI, which is a nice touch. And the iSmart app will also now give you details about how to control the air conditioning, the ambient lighting and so on right from the phone, so you can do that on the move. The rest of the interiors remain as they were. So it's got a good sense of quality to it. Soft materials and leather cover most of the panels, and you get clear part digital instruments, well-placed switches and great space. Now you climb into the MG Gloster in the way that you should for a large SUV. So there's a footstep, a handle. So climbing in, even though it's a bit of a step up, is easy. And yeah, you sit in a slightly easier position because again, this is a ladder frame SUV, so the floor is a bit high. But it must be said that underside support is not too bad. The seat backs and the cushions are quite supportive. Although again, the cushioning itself could have been slightly softer, and maybe this bulge could have been slightly less apparent, and it does eat into your back over, say, a longer journey. But in terms of amenities, you can slide the seat forward or back, recline it to quite a comfortable angle. And yeah, of course, you have a separate climate zone, a nice sort of covering for the chargers, and a large panoramic sunroof. And yeah, the AC vents are here on the sides. But the long list of features will be a big draw. You get heated and cooled seats, powered front seats with a massage and cooling function for the driver, 3-zone AC, panoramic sunroof, auto headlamps and wipers, a power tailgate and a 12.3-inch touchscreen. Now to get into the third row of the MG Gloster, you slide the seat forward like this, get in through this gap, or if you're not very large you can walk through right here, but you notice that there's no handle to pull the seat back from behind, so this is the only way that you do it. But even with the seat fully back, you realize that there's a good amount of knee room. Although your feet are cramped in, there's not too much space to put your feet under the second row of seats. But once you're here, you'll realize the space is good enough for 2 adults, say on a longer journey. And it is a 2-seater here, so 2 adults should be fine completely. And of course, the seat back, the cushioning is pretty decent. You get some amount of recline, not much. You get this AC vent over here and a charge port, a 12-volt power outlet here. The top Savvy trim we are driving gets the 2-litre twin-turbo diesel with its 215 PS and 478 Nm. You also get a full set of 4x4 equipment like terrain modes and a differential lock. Lower variants get a single turbo version of the same motor, while 2-wheel drive options are available too. Now, as you would expect, the Gloster drives exactly as it used to before. So at low speeds, the engine, even though with its significant outputs, it is a bit sluggish before the boost kicks in, before both the turbos are fully spooled up. And it also has this tendency to sort of go into a coast kind of situation. The revs drop, which means that, say in on-off traffic where you are accelerating, decelerating, it does feel a bit sluggish. But once you're moving and up and running on a steady stretch of road, you really can feel that there is a reasonable amount, enough performance to move this car along, this big heavy car along at a reasonable pace. And as always, the 8-speed, it's pretty inoffensive. It's not the quickest, but the shifts aren't too perceivable, which is a good thing. And it just keeps working in the background, so you don't really notice it. It always puts it in the right gear, more or less. So that's how it drives. The steering is light, which is great in the city actually. And you can see the edges of the car, the pillars aren't too big, the windows are large, so maneuvering in the city is not very difficult. And then when you speed up, you notice that the steering could have weighed up a bit, but what really catches your eye, or what you feel the most, is this car's ride and handling, it, especially its ride, which smoothens out, or at slow speeds over big bumps, there is that rocking sort of jittery motion that you associate with ladder frames. Some of it is there, but that smoothens out quite a bit. And so you really don't feel too much of the big bumps then. But quite impressive is the handling of this big heavy SUV. So say over sweeping highway corners or even some tighter ones where you notice that you can hold high speeds, it doesn't feel wallowy, it doesn't feel, you know, skittish at these speeds. It holds its line well, which really is quite reassuring. There are a few more ADAS features to go with this update to the MG Gloster. You now get door open warning, rear cross traffic alert and lane change assist. This is in addition to the adaptive cruise control and lane departure warning and prevention systems, among other things already present. Passive safety equipment includes front, side and curtain airbags, stability control, traction control, hill descent control, hill hold, 360-degree cameras, TPMS and a driver fatigue system. Now prices for the MG Gloster now start at rupees 32 lakh and go up to rupees 40.77 lakh after this update. And with this change, the Gloster, it remains inherently unchanged, although its strength of having a good set of tech features has been further enhanced.
With that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through Facebook, Twitter as well as YouTube. And you can follow our latest updates on Instagram. Until we see you next week then, drive and ride safe.